Today is not just a conversation about menopause. It's a conversation about what it feels like to live inside a changing female body in midlife. The grief, the confusion, the vanity, the strength, the reinvention, all of it. And I wanted to have this conversation with someone who has spent decades teaching women how to get strong and healthy, but who is also living this herself. Because let's be honest, midlife can be incredibly humbling. It can be the season where your body starts changing in ways you didn't expect, where the things that used to work suddenly don't, and where you're trying to figure out how to hold on to yourself while also becoming someone new. And I think one of the most powerful things we can do as women is to talk about it openly. For example, just before this interview, I shaved what I like to lovingly call my menopause mustache. But I want to address not just the symptoms, but the emotional side of it too. How it feels to age, how it feels to watch your body change, how it feels to want to feel good, look good, and stay strong. That's why I'm so excited for today's guest. JJ Virgin is a triple board certified nutrition expert, fitness Hall of Famer, 4-time New York Times bestselling author, and host of the Well Beyond 40 podcast. For decades, she has been one of the leading voices in women's health, helping us to understand metabolism, muscle, hormones, and how to age powerfully and intelligently. And what makes this conversation so valuable is that JJ is not just teaching midlife women how to navigate this chapter, she is living it too. Welcome, JJ, to the show.
Thank you. And hearing that, Karen, I feel like I need to do the biggest apology to all of my clients that I helped when I was in my 20s. I had for some reason all these women in menopause. And I think now to some of my advice then, and I don't know why they didn't just like throw me off the cliff, like hush it. But I had no idea what they were going through. So it's definitely something we need to talk about. And you definitely need to take advice, I think, from someone who has the lived experience, because you just don't know it. Even if it's, I love Dr. Bill Campbell, who's going through the lived experience with his wife. So even if it's
Yes.
you're a man going through it with your wife, that counts. But if you're 30 and you're going to start talking about how, menopause doesn't change your metabolism, you need to just shut the F up, is what I have to say.
Did you happen to catch Dr. Louise Newson's post yesterday? I had to share it on my Instagram because it was like a little skit of these two women, a woman sitting across from a doctor at a desk, and she's like, so you're telling me magnesium, like magnesium's gonna help me get rid of all of these symptoms? And the woman's like, yep, just take magnesium. And she's like, well, no offense, but you are what, 25, 30 years old? And she just starts like getting into it. It's so funny. I'm like, oh my God, so accurate. So accurate. Okay, JJ, your birthday's coming up. I know this because we share the same birthday. I don't know if you remember that, but
I do. That was so fun.
I know. And I am going to be turning 50. Very proud to say it. I'm excited that I am going to be 50 years old. Can
Honestly,
I ask you how
old turned 50. If I could have turned 50 at 30, I would have done it like that.
Interesting.
Turning 50,
Yes.
and I have now queried enough women to know this is to be true. So I'm about to turn 63.
Okay.
And there's been a whole lot of things that have happened, but my 50th birthday, I was in South Beach, Miami South Beach, with Sarah Gottfried, Anna Kabecka, and a bunch of other
Perfect.
menopause docs. It was hilarious. That was my 50th birthday. So fortunately, I have been surrounded by very smart hormone docs my whole life. I think I was in perimenopause for a month and I was on hormones. So you really don't have to suffer. I think that's the most important thing to to communicate to people. But there is something that happens when you go through this and your estrogen comes down. And it is the I really don't care if you don't like me button gets pushed on in your body, where in your 20s and 30s, and especially in your teens, like if someone didn't like you, it was like this tragic event. Or if
Yes.
they didn't like your hair, or they didn't like any of these things. I remember I went and did a talk somewhere, And I got all of this amazing feedback. And one woman commented on my blouse, like said something derogatory. And I was like traumatized. And
Yeah.
now I'd be like, okay, well, should we talk about your blouse? Like, I mean, it's just like, I don't care, could care less. And it's this thing that happens at 50. So it's going to be super exciting. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. Like I view this whole time period as the most freeing biological upgrade you could possibly have, because once you get through menopause and your hormones are stabilized, oh my gosh,
It's
it's
amazing.
fantastic. It's so great. It's so
It's so
awesome.
great.
Yes,
But
and then your
only if
kids
you
go
do
away,
the
they
right
go
things.
yeah, kids leave the house, hormones get stabilized,
Yes. Yes.
everything's and I love my kids to pieces, and I'm glad when they come over.
Yeah. But what can happen and what's happening to most women is that's not their experience.
Right.
Like for
Let's
us,
fix
we
that.
we have, all these people surrounding us in this field that are there to help us. We're doing this every day, day in and day out, and have for a very long time. So we've got the support. But when women hear us saying like, "Oh, this is the best," they're like, "Fuck you
Yeah,
guys."
well,
Like, I'm
fortunately, it can
sorry.
be the best. There's some things that everyone can put into place. I was really lucky. Early on, Suzanne Summers' doctor, Dr. Diana Schwartzbein, we got to be really close friends, and I was like, you should create the Schwartzbein Certified Practitioner Program. So I wrote it out and helped her with this. And so she was teaching really what you need to do to go into menopause, how you needed to handle your adrenals, your insulin. I mean, so I had a lot of information going in. And, when you look at it, if you want to go through this time period with as much grace and ease as possible, there will be times it gets ugly. I mean, let's be real. Like, there's going to be some stuff. But if you want it to be as easy as possible, your margin for error has just shrunk to a centimeter, basically. The stuff you could get away with in your 20s and 30s, you cannot get away with. You cannot stay out late, drink bottled wine, skip a bunch of meals and think everything's going to work out fine. It won't. It's done. So just kind of put that one to rest. But the more it's a time to lean into self-care, which sounds so trite and blah, blah, it's like do your morning routine, but it's time to put yourself first is what I really mean by that, right?
When did you start going into perimenopause or realize that you were in perimenopause?
So here's what was interesting that happened. The first sign, so for a couple years, I taught this course for healthcare practitioners called Overcoming Weight Loss Resistance. And it was all the things that could get in the way of you losing weight or cause you to gain weight. Stress, sleep, gut dysbiosis, toxins, insulin resistance, and of course, sex hormone imbalance and thyroid issues. My first thing that happened was thyroid. I knew it very, very quickly. Now, my thyroid issues, I went from a TSH of 1 to a TSH of 2.5 and got all the thyroid symptoms. It was that nuanced, right?
Which, just for those listening, that range is considered in all the medical literature to be very normal.
Very
Up to
normal.
5 is considered normal in most ranges.
Now,
Yeah.
I was fortunate in that one of the doctors who was in my mastermind is a thyroid expert. His name's Dr. Alan Christensen. And so he was like, oh, So I started first on thyroid. The next thing that happened, and I know classically for most people, it's progesterone goes down and you don't have good sleep. If I'm not careful with progesterone, I get cystic acne, I overeat, and I cry. It's like it's the only time I ever want sweets. I literally want to, cry at a commercial, eat a bunch of cake, and I have big acne problems. So progesterone's never been my thing. It's why we have to really treat hormone replacement therapy. Everyone's a snowflake. Everybody's their N of 1. Doesn't mean I don't use it. I just use it very carefully. But the first thing that really started to go for me was estrogen and testosterone. So my doctor first gave me a little boost of testosterone. That solved it for a while, then gave me a little hit of estrogen, and then I started using a little cycling progesterone. So I never really went through this full-blown thing, but two things happened that really made the difference. Number one, the minute I started to have symptoms, and the first symptoms I had were I couldn't recover at the gym. And I couldn't figure out, it was like a couple of weeks of like, what the hell's going on? I thought maybe I had a virus, right? But then I went to my dentist, and I said, my teeth are bleeding, my gums are bleeding. He goes, oh, that's low estrogen. So I mean, and it was a guy, male dentist in Palm Desert, California.
Wow. How old were
Amazing.
you at this time?
I was like 48, I think,
Oh, wow.
49. Yeah,
Okay. So later, you
wait,
had
maybe
later symptoms.
like a lot of this stuff happened later for me, but what really compounded the whole situation. So I'm on all this stuff and I'm fairly balanced because I've got doctors who are working with my symptoms and helping me. And then my son gets in a near he gets in a super bad accident, near death, right? He should have died. In fact, the doctors told us to let him die. And so for 4.5 months during this time of all my hormones shifting, I'm in the hospital with my son in the ICU. During the same time, I also am launching my first big book, and I'm the sole financial support for my family. So if the book doesn't go, I'm now bankrupt. So I'm in the hospital in this situation, right? And literally, I'm staying at a little place down the street, and I'm in the hospital every morning, all day. I'm running up and down the hospital stairs. Whole Foods is delivering. I'm just like pulling it off. And God knows what happened there. So I think that probably accelerated me getting into being
Yes.
postmenopausal fairly quickly. I'm just guessing
Yeah.
because I've always been on hormones. Like if someone said, "When did your last period stop?" I have no idea because for a long time we were cycling hormones. So it wasn't a true bleed. So I don't really know when the whole thing went down, but it was because I was being managed so well with hormones, and especially to be managed when you're in the most stressful time of your life, right?
Yeah.
So
Wow. And
crazy.
you were doing weight loss resistance. I too, that was my first job base or my first company doing this was I specialized in weight loss resistance. Your book was one of the books that I first read about food sensitivities and weight loss resistance. So that was in my arsenal. It was like you have weight loss resistance if likely from one of
Makes
these
my
four
heart
things. It was
sing.
like hormones, if it's food,
Yeah.
yeah, your book spoke to me. It was the first time I ever read. I'm like, that is me. I have this. I have food sensitivities that are causing weight loss resistance. And I
So
did.
here's what happened that like I love that you've brought this up. So when I was on Dr. Phil, and this was 2005 to 2007, he had this book, right? The Weight Loss Challenge. And in the book, he had a chapter on weight loss resistance. And I'm like, this is fascinating. And then I went, but all he talked about was insulin resistance. And I go, well, that's one piece of it. And, because I was out in the field, I was looking around trying to figure all of that out. And I remember at the time I was also working with a business coach, and the business coach was like, no one knows what weight loss resistance is. Don't call it that. Now, then the me now as a business person would have completely trademarked it, done everything around it, but I didn't
Yes.
know. And I kept being told, don't use that. And now everybody's using the term. And I'm thrilled because what it really does is stop shaming women that this idea that, oh, you just need to exercise more, which is so ridiculous because exercise does not help you. Like exercise helps change your body composition. Exercise helps improve your insulin sensitivity. Exercise helps, it helps all the things, but purely for weight loss, we know it's like a losing proposition. And so it lets women go, hold on, my body is not this bank account. It is a chemistry lab. And it's a history book. I think that's the other important thing. Like, what are the toxins? What are the trauma? What are all the other things? And weight loss is complicated. Otherwise, we wouldn't have it as an issue, would we?
Oh, no. Yeah, I had it. I would starve myself, literally starve myself because it was okay, calories in, calories out.
Well,
Okay, well, I just got to bring down those calories. I got to work out harder.
I
And I
know
just
you
kept
must be
gaining weight.
cheating. I had early on in my career, I was so fortunate. I didn't feel fortunate at the time that I got to pay my way through graduate and doctoral school. I was like, when no one else had to do that. But I was fortunate because I was actually out in the field. And what they were teaching us at school didn't really work in the real world. And they were teaching us don't lift weights till you lose the weight, that it's calories in, calories out. You just need to eat less, exercise more, all the stuff. But I had those women I was telling you about. They're all perimenopausal. Didn't work whatsoever. It was like, this is not working. We need a different plan. They're not going to pay me to make them worse. So that's where a lot of this stuff first came from, was like trying to figure out what are all the things that are happening here, because it's clearly not just a calories issue. I mean, just look at what happens when estrogen starts to go down in terms of your metabolic rate, in terms of your inflammation, your insulin resistance, your ability to put on muscle, putting on more fat. You're going to try to tell me that like nothing's happened in my metabolism until I'm 60? Really? I don't buy it.
No. When we were in Tampa Bay last year, I saw JJ speak, and I spoke at that event as well. And you didn't speak at that one. No, I'm thinking
Are
of,
you
I
coming
saw
this
you
year?
at the one before,
Yeah, I was at the one before. I'm going to be at this.
at the Health Optimization
Oh,
Summit.
health
I saw
optimization.
you speak there, but then I was at your house in
Yes,
Tampa,
you're at my
and
house.
you didn't speak at Hack Your Health, but I did. And I spoke about the metabolic storm of menopause. And I said, it's not like women hit menopause and suddenly decide to start eating nothing but McDonald's and sit on the couch. And yet we see insulin resistance, we see hypothyroidism. I would never have guessed that you, of all people, would develop hypothyroidism. And I'm sure
I'm not
you thought that
immune.
that was never going to be on your radar.
But here's the thing. I mean, like none of us are safe, right? Like we all.
Yeah.
This is the craziest thing. Uh, 2 years ago at Health Optimization Summit, I led a little business group after the fact, and this one gal came in and she goes, "Oh, I don't believe our ovaries have to age. Like, I think you can get your period until your 80s and 90s." And I'm like going,
Jesus.
I just don't know what to quite to say here. I go, none
Are
of
you
us are
having a
immune.
transplant?
All these
Ovarian
things are
transplant?
going, yeah, it's like all these things are going to happen to us unless someone figures something out different there. I don't know, but your ovaries are going to age and your hormones are going to go down. And, so, and even if we're living a clean life, think of the just even living clean life, the toxins that we get bombarded with. I mean,
Did you think that did you think you were going to sail through it because you were so super healthy? If someone had asked you when you were 40 or 35, like, what do you think your perimenopause or menopause is going to be like, JJ? Would you have thought, oh, I got this?
well, here's the really interesting thing. Things are very different now. When I was 35, no one was talking about this
Yeah.
at all. I knew about hormone replacement therapy because I was working in the functional medicine field. And I was going to all of these seminars and conferences. And so I knew all about it, but there was really, it wasn't a conversation at all. No one was talking about it. I never really even thought about it. It just didn't register on my screen.
Hmm.
So,
So
I
you
mean,
probably would have thought, I'm going to be fine.
I figured I'd be fine. And all my hormone doc friends were like, yeah, when I get into perimenopause, I'm just going to have I'm gonna have my uterus removed and I'll just keep my ovaries. And then I won't have to deal with as much, pain in the butt of all the stuff. I was like, that's one way to do it. But, so I just really I never thought about it. I never worried about it, never dawned on me. And again, the first sign was thyroid stuff. And I knew it was going on because I sweat all the time. And all of a sudden I stopped being a sweater. I was all of a sudden cold, which was kind of cool because usually I'm sweating. And then I started to lose the outer third of my eyebrow and I got constipated. I'm like, I know what this is, right? My LDL went up. So that was an easy one. And then, and that's why, you can't just look at thyroid and go, my TSH is normal. That's ridiculous, right? And you got to look at your free T3 and your antibodies, the whole bit. And again, I wouldn't have really given it much thought until I noticed that I wasn't recovering from my exercise and my gums started to bleed a little bit. Right? That was the
Yeah.
big sign. And then, then it was like I definitely noticed I started to feel like I was just softer. But once I got on hormones, that corrected very quickly.
It did.
So,
And
yeah.
are you still on thyroid, or did you reverse that?
Mm-mm.
Nope, still on it. Yeah, still optimizing it. Okay. Yeah.
And, these people, I had a girl come up to me at a conference after I was talking about, everything you need to do to age powerfully. And she goes, I'm doing all those things. And I still have this excess body fat, especially visceral and blah, blah, blah. And she goes, but I just don't want to take hormones. I want to do it naturally. I'm like, I
Yeah.
mean, I consider this doing it naturally. So,
Yeah, same.
yeah.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
if it
if you
wasn't
can't
for hormones, oh my God, I'd be a hot mess.
if you can't make a hormone, do you know how dangerous it is to have low thyroid function? I had a cousin who hadn't gone to the doctor for 2 decades, and her first sign of low thyroid was she broke a hip. They discovered how low her thyroid was and how osteoporotic she was. I'm like, okay, how
Very,
poor muscle mass and everything. Like, you don't you don't mess around with low thyroid.
yeah. How about the aging, just the physical aging process? How has that been for you, being that you've been in the limelight your whole career? We see you all the time. I know for myself, when I started going through it, I gained a bunch of weight, and here I was talking about weight loss resistance, and this was my thing, this was my niche, and I got this, and then suddenly I got fat, to be honest. And I was so grateful that I was only being recorded from the chest up.
I think we have to talk about all that too, and so I really think we have to revisit how we think about weight, and weight as a metric, just like blood pressure is a metric, is the bio sign, right? I think we need to look at what our weight is made up of in the same way. I was fortunate in that. So early on in my 30s, I was running a gym and wellness center, and I still remember in Palm Desert, and I had a very expensive segmental bioimpedance machine there. And this was, same time as Dr. Phil and all that. No, actually, it was before that because I brought that to Dr. Phil. So this was probably in the early 2000s. And I remember in the middle of this season of going to the gym every single day and only ever wearing athleisure, right? Only ever wearing, you probably know where I'm going with this, and not paying attention. I go home. Someone said, "Oh, let's go to dinner." And I was like, okay, guess I got to get out of the athleisure. So I went to put on a pair of pants, and I guess they'd just gotten out of the dryer because they didn't fit. So I went to get another pair of pants, didn't fit. And then I started to get frantic, and that desperate, frantic, horrible feeling because I just hadn't been paying attention, which is kind of bizarre. And so that's when I decided to do what, if you read, oh gosh, and I'm blanking on his name. He's the only guy who's ever studied keeping weight off, James Hill. And what he discovered is what helps you get weight off, which I would say is get fat off and hold on to or build muscle and improve body composition, is different than what you do to maintain it. And what you do to maintain, if you look at the people who are most successful at maintaining weight, and I'm going to extrapolate that to maintaining body composition, because we all know you can maintain weight and totally have a shift in body composition. Those people weigh every day. And so from that moment on, I've been weighing every day. And this has been very, very important because I saw early on, I ended up during the pandemic, I started gaining a pound a day. Now, when you're on a bioimpedance machine, my rule is once a week, take a trend line because your weight will bounce up and down. We know that.
Yeah.
But it went up the first, it goes up a pound. I'm like, all right, weird. Goes up another pound. Goes up another pound. Now I'm like, uh-oh. And, by the end of the week, I'm like, shit, what's going on? Alan Christensen, I had all my doctor friends, I'm like, this is what's going on. Alan Christensen's like, it's autoimmune gastritis. He was right. And trashed my thyroid, dropped my iron. Like all this stuff happened just from like a stress response, right? But I wouldn't have known if I wasn't weighing in and using the scale, not as a mean friend or a judgy person, but being curious and watching my metrics. And that's what I think we need to reframe all of this to, is when you're using bioimpedance, and I love a Bluetooth tape measure, and you're monitoring your waist because that's the best proxy for visceral adipose tissue, and you're monitoring your body composition, you can see if things are going sideways and you can then shift them. It's just like if you also put in some quality muscle measurements, so like a grip strength test and, being able to do push-ups or squats for 30 seconds, you can see if like all of a sudden your, performance has dropped off a cliff. And these are the metrics that matter. I mean, if I had really great grip strength in both hands, then all of a sudden my grip strength is going down or going down specifically in one hand, early sign of cognitive decline. So these are the things that we need to know. And then we got to figure out, well, what's going on? Is it because my estrogen and testosterone took a nosedive? Is it what's happening here? So you can figure it out and fix it. But it takes the blame, and this is why I like weight loss resistance. It takes the shame and blame off of you. Yeah. For you to understand that with weight loss resistance, we're just looking at biometrics to figure out what things, and weight gain, fat gain is just a sign that something in your system's not right. Now, it could be that you're just not eating right And I always clear with doing macro tracking and an audit first, just to make sure like that's not the issue,
Yes. Yeah.
right? Because some people, like 25 to 40% of people tend to underestimate what they eat. We know those stats. And I believe a lot of people overestimate what they're eating in protein. So they just don't quite have that dialed right. Like with my husband, when he did his DEXA at 58, he's younger than me. We did our DEXAs because I wanted to be in the best shape of my life at 60. And he was 25% body fat. He's an athletic guy. He's the same weight as he's been in high school, athletic guy, skinny fat. And it wasn't that he needed to change his calories. He actually needed to change where his calories were coming from. And then he also added some testosterone and really doubled down on his resistance training, getting in his creatine, and ended up, dropping 27 pounds of fat and putting on 24 pounds of muscle. But again, we were using a bioimpedance scale. We weren't like he would never have known stepping on a scale.
Yeah, right. Exactly. What did that do emotionally to you at the time? Like, did you just go into sheer I would have gone into sheer panic, but just as a woman, just going, and because you're in the limelight, it makes it way worse
When my weight was going up?
suddenly gaining weight.
Well, fortunately, it was during the pandemic, so you could totally hide. I was more concerned about the roots in my hair at that time. I was like, I'm not a hat wearer. I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? But, and I don't really want to know what color my hair is. That was the other side of it.
Yeah.
Really, I have a glimpse right now, and I'm like, don't need to know. But, we turned it around. I turned it around fairly quickly.
Yeah.
And, I often wonder too, my stepdaughter was here and she had gotten really into sourdough. And I don't do well with gluten. I don't do gluten. Gluten's not great when you have a thyroid issue. You shouldn't touch it. And so I go, was it the stress? Was it the fact that we were having like fresh sourdough every day? Like it was a double trigger whammy. But, once I knew it, I had it back to normal within a couple weeks. I just went on, started
Oh,
going on some thyroid, some iron, like did some different things. I forget what they had me do, but,
yeah. But you were
healed it.
able to reverse
Oh,
fast.
quickly. And that's the thing. That's what we need to do. And that's why we have to mentally stop the weirdness we have around a scale as if it's a self-esteem metric, because it's
Mhm.
not. You would never go, I can only lift this much at the gym, I suck. But I weigh this much on the thing, I suck. Like we wouldn't do this with blood pressure. We wouldn't do it with a CGM. Like we need to stop it. And we need to just put it into proper perspective of, I want to see what's going on, because if I'm watching someone who I'm working with and all of a sudden they're losing muscle, they're gaining more visceral fat. This actually just happened with a friend of mine. She goes, I haven't changed anything. And this is a hormone doc. Haven't changed anything. Weight's going up. And she hadn't, doctors are their worst patients. Like they're their own worst patients. So she'd been on the same progesterone, basically progesterone only, for years. But now she's 50. I'm like, well, you're in perimenopause. You need estrogen, and you need to not hammer yourself with progesterone, because if you just hammer yourself with progesterone, you could get more insulin resistant. You're more insulin resistant. Your estrogen's lowered. You're more inflamed. Like, get your progesterone down, your estrogen up. Let's cycle. Like, I'm not a hormone doc, but you know this. Like, let's fix it. And
Yeah.
boom, started shifting it all around again.
Yeah. We need to get help sooner. And I think that that's where a lot of this, where the issues are, is that women are not being treated with estrogen specifically early enough in
Right.
perimenopause. We're being told that we have to wait till we are fully in menopause
Knowing that, who's
before
saying,
we get estrogen.
well, first of all, um,
Everybody,
this is
not
ridiculous.
me.
And and here's what else I see is they're just giving out progesterone like candy,
Oh my
which
God,
then is
yes,
then
and high doses too.
like progesterone. If you're low in progesterone, hey, it can be great for sleep. It can be help with anxiety. But if you're not, if you're just pummeling it, then it's going to make the estrogen problem worse. It's going to make you
Yep.
hungrier. It's going to make you more insulin resistant. So these things are not just throw this hormone at it. You've got to do this correctly. And if your estrogen's going down, you'll know you're inflamed. You can't recover well. You're more insulin resistant. You'll have hot flashes. Like you'll know the things. But I think for a lot of people, Karen, they just don't put it together. Like I have a girlfriend, we were leading these female founder retreats, and so we meet up, and I hadn't seen her for a year. And she'd been going through a big move and some stress, and we meet at the airport and get in the car, and she is a little person, and she looks like she put on, like, I don't know, 10 or 20 pounds, which when you're 5'2" is a lot, right? And she starts telling me how stressed she is, and it's all stress, and I'm like, "How old are you?" You know, 46. It's like, slap a little estrogen patch on her, give her some progesterone at night. She's like, "Oh my God." You know?
So much better.
Like, but it didn't, and she's in the health space. It didn't dawn on her.
Mhm.
And even with all of this information, I think it's still, we just don't, we think it's stress. We think it's
Yeah.
something else, and
Yeah.
not thinking, hey, this is like the early signs. And it used to be that until you lost your period, you didn't need estrogen. That's ridiculous. No,
It's
the minute you have symptoms,
ridiculous.
go talk to your doctor.
Yes.
Yeah.
If every other hormone we're optimizing before it drops to zero, except estrogen. It's like, okay, well, once oh, you're at a 5 now of estradiol. Okay, I guess now you can have it. I've heard horror stories from women where it's like they'll be given birth control
Oh, yeah.
way before they're given estrogen and told they can't have it. And this is from hormone doctors even that
Well,
say
fortunately, there
this.
are a lot of great ones out now and a lot of great virtual ones.
Yeah,
We can use your
it's
face.
slowly but
I use your
changing.
face stuff every day on my face, my chest, my hands. And then I have this is the new one. Like, I didn't even find out about vaginal estradiol until like 2 years ago. Like, why was that a secret? That should not be a
Yeah,
secret either. So, there's
yeah.
so many different things that you can be doing. Of course, those won't really
Now.
systemically, but I mean, I'd be starting all of that in my early 40s.
Yes.
Then the minute I noticed estrogen dropping with side effects, I would be adding that in, and I'd get a great doctor. There's so many great doctors now who get it, who will work with you on this. So,
Yeah.
and you'll
We've
see
got to
how starting to
slow it
shift.
down. We got to
Oh,
intervene early because I tell you what, ladies, once that weight comes on, talk about weight loss resistance. Menopausal weight gain is the toughest weight to get off. You could finally optimize your hormones, be doing everything right, and the weight will not come off that you gained in menopause. Not always, but there's a high percentage of women that do get
there's
optimized on their hormones in menopause and they still can't get rid of the belly fat.
Yeah. And so I'm gonna give you some tricks for it, but the other thing is I'm equally concerned that, as your estrogen's dropping, like, you need the estrogen for your bones, you need the estrogen for your brain, you need the estrogen for your heart. I used to work out of a plastic surgery center in Palm Desert, where they would have me review labs with the patients before they went into surgery and help optimize them, right? And I could tell before all I would get is their labs, no health history first, and then they'd walk in. And I could tell if they were in menopause, on hormones, not on hormones, just by their labs, because I knew their age and their cardiovascular profile. And we actually did HSCRPs and insulin. They sucked if they weren't on hormones. Besides, you could see it in their skin, you know,
Yes.
hear about,
Yes.
what happens with bones. So I don't see why you'd ever want to not have that. Like, why would you want to take that protection away? It doesn't make any sense. It's like the minute it starts to drop is when you should start to put it on. And that's what all my friends were doing. So I was fortunate that I never was without. I mean, I think I went a month.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's talk about the facelift because I know that you just had a facelift done. And I also thought I would never do that either.
Really?
Now I'm
What, when you
like,
were in your 30s? I love the judge
yes.
actresses in their 20s and 30s. I would never do that. I'm like, okay, say that
I
now.
didn't judge it, but I said I wouldn't do it. And I also said I would not do Botox and I wouldn't do
Really?
plastic surgery. And
Huh.
now every 3 months I get my bitch stitch Botoxed and I follow that Dr. Amir Kumar, I think it is. Do you follow him on Instagram? He does the vertical facelift. And I'm like, man, when I'm ready, that's who I'm going
Okay,
to.
here's the funny thing. So the vertical restore. So here's what happened. We actually had appointments set with him to go have him do a
Oh,
vertical
okay.
restore. Do you know Natalie Jill?
Yes.
So all my friends went to that guy. And, it's Quran or something. Anyway, all my
Yes.
friends go
Yeah,
to him.
yeah.
He's in San Diego. Like, I have 4 friends that went to him. I think 2 look amazing, 2 look okay. And, but
Oh,
Natalie's the one that named it the Vertical Restore. I'm like, "Oh, Natalie, you should have gotten, like, you know, a cut of all this," because she went into
yeah.
him to talk to him about, like, what he does, and she goes, "No woman wants a facelift. They just want a vertical restore." And it's like, I'm like, "You're so good." So we were gonna go to him, Karam, Dr. Karam.
Yes.
And, um, but, you know, it's interesting. I talked to a lot of different doctors. I talked to doctors in all over Tampa and St. Pete. I talked to doctors in LA, in New York, in San Diego. I had a girlfriend who went to San Francisco. That was my next foray. And then one of my friends from San Diego goes, "My friends in Miami and LA are going to this doctor in Tampa." I go, "You're kidding." And turns
Your
out, like,
hometown.
I know, 6 minutes from my house.
No.
So yes, so we go to her place, and I love her. She's so normal. A lot of times you go into these plastic surgery offices, and first of all, everyone looks like a weirdo. Like, they all look like they had the same look. Have you seen this?
Yes.
If you've been
Yes.
I've done a lot of facials and stuff in and done a lot of laser and stuff, so I've helped a lot of doctors in the plastic surgery realm, so I just have seen too many offices where I'm like, everyone has the same lips, everyone has the same, it's like everyone's done the same filler, like, they all look a little bit strange, like,
Yes.
"Oh."
Yeah.
And she's just normal and conservative, and, and I finally was with someone. I went, "I am not freaked out. I'm not freaked out." Because I kept thinking, you see these celebrities who look a little weird, and you're like, with all the connections and all the money, they couldn't get it right.
Yes.
How am I gonna get it right,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And so this woman had been a head and neck surgeon first. That was all she did. And she was so pragmatic that I was like, "I like her." And so both my husband and I did this together. Here's the funny part. So my husband, now I had had my eyes done before because literally I couldn't at night. I'm
I
like,
do
"Why
that
can't
too.
I read?" And I was like lifting my eyelids
Yeah.
up. So I'd done that years ago, and I've done a bunch of different rounds of different types of lasers. So I've done the things where you're like, you look like a burn victim or whatever, right? And so my husband's now gonna get an upper and lower bleph. I'm not, I don't need that. And we're both getting this whatever this midlife, mid lift, like mid facelift smaz thing. I'll tell you, Kris Jenner was the one who got me all fired up. I saw Kris Jenner, I'm like, "That's it.
I
I'm
heard
doing
you say that, and I'm like, "Oh my God." I thought the same thing. I was watching because
that with you."
it's my guilty pleasure watching the stupid Kardashians. But yes, she looks amazing.
Yeah, she looks fabulous. And something important there is she said one of the reasons she had such a good, outcome was because she'd already done it once. I kept thinking you put this off as long as possible. I come to find out I had it totally
Yes,
wrong.
that's what I
That's not
thought.
what you do. You should do it earlier, not later. Well, I kept waiting and waiting
Yes.
and waiting. Um, and so she did this neck thing, she did the mid face, and then this brow lift. And here's the thing, the reality is I was, like, going and getting it's like how many when with your hair, if you're starting to have to color your hair every, like, 5 minutes, there's a problem, something's wrong, and this was like, "Okay, how often am I gonna have to get Botox and filler, and, like, what's going on?" Like, everything's just falling, and I kept being at the gym, like, pulling my face up and looking at pictures, and so we went and did this, and my husband goes the day before because I had to tape a podcast, and then I did it the next day. I pick him up. He looks fine. He's got a little red. His eyes are red. He's got that thing around him, like you see. And I'm like, wow. And my husband reads all the instructions, does everything. He's super diligent. Like, whatever the rules are, he follows the rules. I don't even read the instructions. So there's that problem. So anyway, he knows everything that's going on, which normally he'd take care of me, but he couldn't take care of me because he was taking care of himself. So I come home from the hospital from it, and the way she does this facelift is amazing because she doesn't put you under, because if you go under, then your likelihood of throwing up is high, and if you throw up, you have a high risk of a hematoma, and that's what they want to avoid. Okay, so she's got me going and we're doing this, but the problem is it takes like 4 hours, and I have an old injury in my like thoracic spine from carrying coffee table up a flight of stairs, and it starts to bug me and it starts to irritate me, and so she gives me another halcyon to calm me down. And then at the end of all of it, she goes to give me a Vicodin. I don't think about it because I just took a halcyon, right? I don't do pain meds well at all. Like I typically don't really take them unless it's absolutely I don't have any other choice. If I have to take anything, I'll take a Tylenol. Like I just don't take them. I've had like hip surgery and taken a Tylenol, right? She gives me a Vicodin. Those things make me puke. I come home. Guess what? And that's the thing you're not allowed to do. I have the picture of me right after surgery. I have a little teeny bruise. And then I throw up and I become like the monster, like the whole thing. And I'm literally icing and doing everything. And it's just like getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And Tim, who has like one little bruise, is looking at me and he's like, uh-oh, pinging the doctor, sending pictures. So I go in the next day and they have to, drain the hematoma. It's supposedly going to be fine, except it's not fine. Next day it's back. It's Thanksgiving. I have to go back to the doctor, drain it again. She has to resuture the whole thing. But here's the thing. And by the way, 12 days later, I'm on a stage. So I'm like, 12 days from now, like, because I counted it. I think I had 16 days between, 16 days. So Thanksgiving, I was going to be on a stage in 2 weeks. And so I'm like, okay, well, like I've got 2 weeks. She goes, no problem. Not a big deal. We got this. I'm like, okay. I went every day. I have a hyperbaric at home. So I did hyperbaric every day. I did red light every day. I did a bunch of different peptides. And after the first couple of days, ice doesn't really matter, but I was doing some other things. I don't really remember what else, some copper. But literally, we just started doing IPL like every other day. And the pictures are crazy of like, just how quickly it started to go down. It was amazing. And I was on a stage in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and you would never have known. Like I saw the before and after. I couldn't believe it.
But meanwhile, I'm watching Shalene because Shalene's like, how is it going? I'm like, I'm not talking about it. She goes, are you going to share? I'm like, you know what? You just be over there with your face. Just be quiet. So then I started sending to people and they're like, oh my God. And, I just feel like we got to share all of it. I think
So.
what I see on social, and I really try to not do this, is we always see the highlight reel. We see people and they're perfect, their makeup's perfect, and it's like, in reality is I walk around the house with my hair on top of my head and in sweats pretty much 24/7, unless I have to, put makeup on.
Yeah.
And I've like sort of got my husband brainwashed that, you want the authentic real girl, I wear one skin tinted sunscreen and mascara. That's my thing. But,
yeah.
I mean, in real life, like when you have these things, stuff goes sideways. But the cool thing is, we heal if you do the right things. Like I was doing lots of protein and aminos, and I mean, I was like collagen. When you do the right things, you can really speed that healing. So,
did you struggle at all being like between the worlds of, do I go and do these facelifts and these interventions versus, aging naturally and not having those things done? No.
Never.
Okay.
No. So here's what happened. In my mid-30s, I started to do a lot of TV. And the first thing I started to do with TV was I had to edit my own videos. I was doing these 1-minute medical minutes, and I had to sit with the editor and edit them. And I'm like, what the hell is that? It was this thing between here,
Bitch stitch.
And I'm like, what is that? And one of my clients at the time was a plastic surgeon. She goes, oh, I got that, So I was like, oh. And then, I'm living in Palm Springs, California, super wealthy area. Everyone does everything. And so one of my girlfriends had an IPL machine. So she started doing IPL. Then I started helping a plastic surgery center. In fact, it was Drew Orton who worked on the doctor. So I was helping them. I would have like Botox parties for them. So they did like laser for me and Botox. I'm like going, oh God, no. I was like, why wouldn't you do these things? Why wouldn't you? I don't understand. I mean, and here's the thing, if you don't want to do it, fine.
Great.
I'm not going to judge you for not doing it. Don't judge me for doing it. We get to do us, right? So
yeah, exactly.
If you want to do it, like, I think I told you offline, I had this gal who was like, you are a fake influencer. I go, first of all, I'm not an influencer. I've never played an influencer. I call myself a trusted authority. I'm going to share what's working. I'm going to pull back the kimono, but I'm not an influencer out there with just like, this pair of pajamas and that, that hair
Yeah,
dryer.
yeah,
I'm not an influencer. And
no.
I've never said, like, I will show the stuff I'm doing, and so I think it's important. And this idea that if you are doing Botox and filler, you're not a health person. I'm like, who says? Who defines that? It's like, okay, maybe I'm not a Berkeley granola one. I grew up there. I will tell you, I'm a high maintenance hippie. I'm not a hippie. Like, that's not, you won't catch me wearing Birkenstocks and, let my hair go gray. I'm not doing that. Like, I don't want to. No.
Yeah. Let's age on our terms, right? And
That's it.
everybody can age on their terms.
You get to choose you and don't be judgy, man. We've got,
No.
especially us women, we have to support each other. We have enough people being judgy to us. Like, let's support each other and lift each other up. And it's like, I have a girlfriend who just had her hair go gray. You probably know Deborah Atkinson.
Yeah.
It looks phenomenal. Like, she looks amazing. I love it. I don't want to do it. I think it looks great on her. Like, it works with her coloring and everything else. I think that's what we have to like embrace what someone wants to do, how they
Yes.
feel best.
Yes.
Now, I do think with menopause weight gain, I think this is where GLP-1s are fantastic. Like, if you look at what's going on during menopause, and you're starting to have your insulin, you're more insulin resistant, you're more inflamed, and you can use low doses of GLP-1s to tame the inflammation, improve your body's releasing insulin at the right time, and get a little food noise shut off. It's usually not a food noise problem. It's an insulin and inflammation problem. So if you can calm those down, you can help muscle protein synthesis. So that's where I see these being really applicable, just not in the dosing the pharma companies are doing. Just
Oh, I
dumb.
know. And
So
there's this movement right now. Have you noticed where there's so many
yeah.
people in
Well,
our
those are
space that are
influencers, right? There's a lot of influencers.
influencers, and they're
Yeah.
they're now talking about how it's become heroin chic to be super skinny in Hollywood. And I'm like, you know what? I don't think so. We're just seeing
Well,
it.
look at
But
Nicole Kidman and Demi Moore. It's because if you look at lately, there are an Angelina Jolie, there was another gal singer. Like, there is some of that stuff happening again
for
where,
sure, we're seeing it.
but
But
these were,
that doesn't mean that I'm looking at it going, that's what I want to look like. I
right.
think majority of us in this health space that are listening to this podcast, and I listen to your podcast, majority of those women I think can say that's not what they're aiming for.
No.
No woman's coming in. I've been doing GLP-1s in my group for years. This is 3 years now. Nobody's going, I want to get as
Yeah.
skinny as I possibly can get. Most of
Yeah.
them are like, I just want to take off this extra fluff that I gained in menopause and put muscle on, and I don't want to lose muscle. They're all educated on this.
You know
And
about
so,
Yoked, right? Fortitropin. Did I turn you
no,
on that one? Because
no.
the reason I bring it up is because two studies just came out with it. So I find so much cool stuff at medical conferences. So I was doing a talk on exercise at a medical conference. Then my girlfriend was doing a talk on nutritional strength training. I'm like, that's the best. And part of it was talking about the things you do to support muscles. And there's this fertilized egg yolk that they've been using for years. There were two uses for it. Pets were using it to help as they were aging to avoid sarcopenia. And then the gym bros were using it. But then also, they've been running a lot of sarcopenia trials, but they've been doing now GLP-1 trials with it. I started using it, and I put on 2.5 pounds of fat-free mass. I did a DEXA within 2 months. So I don't know how quickly it happened, but for me to put on 2.5 pounds of fat-free mass is like a miracle at this point. I've been lifting weights since I was 16. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you know how hard, I always laugh when I don't want to get bulky. I go, do you know how hard it is to put muscle on?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's not
I
what's
remember
good.
you saying that in your talk, like, ladies, it's time to get rid of the pink dumbbells already.
I'd say they're
Talk about,
paper, but no one has paper anymore. So there's,
no. Let's talk about the importance of that, because I know that that is like, you're so knowledgeable. I mean, you taught me things in that conference where I was like, yeah, this is amazing. Like, talk about the importance of muscle health in midlife.
so my line I've been saying now is that muscle changes everything. and the way I really term it so people will get it, and I've been literally saying this since Spanx came out because it helped people get it. Because women, I was so tired of hearing, I'm gonna get bulky. And so my line is muscles, metabolic Spanx. And the reason I say that is because it holds everything tighter. And when you really look at what can you do to affect your resting metabolic rate? Well, not much. It's like you have your thermic effect of food. You can eat more protein, maybe have some caffeine. You have the, activity, up your NEAT. In fact, the NEAT is more modifiable than regular exercise activity. But for changing your resting metabolic rate, really the big thing that can shift it besides optimizing your thyroid is muscle. And so muscle's your metabolic Spanx, holds everything in tighter, boosts your metabolism. Then muscle's a sugar sponge. So, the carb story that just keeps going. I'm like, we need to eat fibery carbs for our microbiome, fuel your microbiome. And then that will also fuel your muscles. So you have energy stores for the next time you work out. It'll let you train harder. Then muscle's this multitasking messenger. And I think the most exciting thing of all when you really look at it is the effect. It's like your muscles, when they contract, create their own pharmacy where they now are helping reduce inflammation. You'll have an initial, and I say this because there's like all this craziness out there about cortisol and exercise. I'm like, you want cortisol to go up during exercise. It will go up and come down. You don't want chronically elevated cortisol, but if you look at the exercise effect with cortisol, generally it's going to teach your cortisol to come up and come back down. It's training your sympathetic nervous system, right, to handle stress better. And same with inflammation. You'll have an immediate inflammatory response. Don't block that. You want that. That's important for muscle protein synthesis, and then it will come down. So all these things adjust and get balanced because of exercise. You produce more mitochondria. You turn over your mitochondria. You produce BDNF so that you make new neurons in your hippocampus. You have better immune system. All this cool stuff happens because of muscle. Muscle really literally changes everything. And we know that, stronger muscle, which is why I think we need to test it, is especially like stronger quad muscles, better brain. And if you do a hard workout, your brain functions better for 4 hours at least post-exercise. Better cognition, faster processing speed, better memory. So, it's the answer to everything. That's why my whole thing now is muscle first. And with the Metabolism Fix, when that book comes out, it's about first build muscle. The first focus should always be in building, like building muscle, doing what you need to support it, things like protein and, fortitropin. Then you can burn. But you don't start the burning until you've got the foundation of the building. Like you would never want to start trying to lose weight unless your body's actively knowing how to build muscle, because then you're going to start to lose muscle, right? And then if you do those things, then you can start to balance out your hormones, balance out your metabolic health, improve everything. So
what's the bare minimum? Because not everybody is inclined to lift weights every day and work out every day. And so if you were to tell, what is the bare minimum that's going to give you all of those benefits, what would you say?
Amen. I think this is the most important thing, is the bare minimum. And here's the reality. I am really irritated. And I admit, at first I was talking about how we needed to lift heavy things. No, I don't say that anymore. Now I say challenge your muscles, because how much you need to lift depends. It varies, right? Like what's heavy for me is going to be different than what's heavy for someone else. So you want to lift the heaviest weight, which could be your body weight. It could be a band. It could be a dumbbell. It could be a machine. It doesn't matter, that you can handle for a specific amount of repetitions and do a couple sets of that. So here's the bare minimum. And this is important because the reality is, I think 30% of the population is actually meeting these exercise standards. And if they're really actually even meeting them, right? Which I doubt. So considering our metabolic health disaster, I doubt it. So for me, the bare minimum is first make sure you've got your NEAT going, get your steps going, because I don't want you to steal from that. And last thing I want you to do is work out for 30 minutes and sit on your butt for the rest of the day. So I always make sure we're getting enough movement all throughout the day. So that's the first thing. But then if you look at the body and you divide the body into 4 parts. You got upper body pushing. That would be things like a push-up or an overhead press. upper body pulling like a pull-up or a bent over row or a high pull, hip and thigh hinging like a squat or a lunge or a step up, and then power core. I focus on the first three because I know that if I'm doing a squat or I'm doing a deadlift or I'm doing a bent over row or a push-up, I'm pulling in my core. So I don't worry about training my core specifically, just like I don't train my arms specifically. Which people are always like, what do you do for your arms? I'm like, push-ups and pull-ups, like not bicep curls and tricep extensions. I do big things that have big metabolic costs because I don't have all day at the gym. I used to train at a
Yes.
bodybuilder gym in Gold's gym in Venice, and they would be there all day long working on their tricep for the,
Yeah.
like, that's not what we're here for. So, so what I tell people is if you can hit each body part 2 days a week. So push 2 days a week, pull 2 days a week, hip and thigh hinge 2 days a week with at least 48 hours in between. So Monday, Wednesday, or Monday, Thursday. You could do push one day, pull one day, hinge one day. It doesn't matter. Just hit each of those 2 days a week. Then do at least 20 sets total. Sorry, 10 sets when you're starting, but 20 sets total of each area a week. So this could be 2 to 3 sets. Let's say you're doing upper body pushing. You could do push-ups, overhead presses, dips, and do 3 sets of that. You're close enough, twice a week, right? Or you could do overhead presses and push-ups and do 2 sets of 5. So you do that and you hit for building, you want to hit 20 sets. For maintaining, you could probably do that in, I don't know, 10 to 12 sets per week, 2 times a week. It's easy to maintain. It's harder to build. So that's the main thing. But I call it the 2 by 2 by 2, 2 days a week, 2 sets per body part, and then two sets per body part and 2 times through would be giving you the bare minimum that you would need to do this. So if you're just starting out, that's where I start people. And then I start to bring them up if they want to build. But that would be that bare minimum if you're on vacation and want to maintain, if you're just starting out and getting your body going. And here's one other important thing. If you're just starting out, please don't look at grandma deadlifting 500 pounds online. Start by just learning how to do the right exercises. Think about challenging your muscles. The first thing when you're just doing this, air squats are challenging your muscles. A step up is challenging your muscles. You will grow and build, but if we injure you, you're out. So I think we have to be really careful as we're starting to teach our muscles and nerves to communicate with each other and then to get our connective tissue strong. And then we can start adding more and more and more resistance, but don't do it quickly, do it gradually, right?
You just came out with a new product, Sheatine, which I've got upstairs and I've been taking. And creatine, I've never had anybody talk about creatine on my podcast, which I know is ridiculous.
Really?
Or not in depth. Like I had some people mention it, but not to any big extent. So and it's amazing, isn't it? I mean, this is why you did it.
There's a lot of creatine wars going on. I don't know if you're aware. There's like all this creatine drama going on. I had no idea. So when I started looking around about 5 years ago. I'm like, because I started hearing about it, and I'm like, this is the perfect menopause product. When you really look at it, it helps you work out harder, recover better, helps with brain fatigue, helps with stress. I'm like, helps with sleep deprivation. I'm like, game on, right? And so I started using it. My husband's always goes along with everything I do.
Yeah.
And
Same.
we got the whole like bloaty GI thing, but I'm like, we're just going to
Yeah.
power through it. And I started selling it. And what's interesting is, and this was monohydrate, and I was telling everyone you need to use monohydrate because it's the most studied form. Which is really kind of, I can't believe now that I was mouthing off about this. It's interesting. It's like, it's kind of the whole thing between an infrared sauna and a dry heat sauna of like, well, this has been around forever. Or a mammogram or Jen Simmons QT imaging. Well, this has been around forever. I'm like, really? So should I be riding a horse and buggy? Like, what the hell are you talking about? So the whole argument with monohydrate is it's the most studied. Well, because it's been around the longest, right? But what are we really looking at? Are we looking at the carrier monohydrate, or are we looking at what the impact creatine has in the body? I think it's number 2. The reality with creatine is we have these stores on our body. Depending on how big you are, it's anywhere from 100 to 140 grams of creatine we have in our body. We make a little bit every day. It's only about a gram. And we make it from arginine and glycine and methionine. We need another gram from food. We can get that from food if we're eating, a pound of raw or rare meat or fish, or 2 pounds of cooked meat or fish. But most people are not getting that in, women especially the ones that are still in the plant-based world. Hopefully they're coming over to our side. But the reality is most women are not getting what they need. And then if you add on to that any kind of sleep deprivation, which everyone in menopause has, any kind of stress, any kind of elevated training, more is better. And if you've got any kind of brain injury, cognitive decline, right, more is better. So if you look at what they have you do with creatine monohydrate, they will tell you it's 99% absorbed. I don't really know of anything that's 99% absorbed. Anyhow, I'll give you what actually has happened because I've learned all of this along the way. I was like, this is more biochemistry than I wanted. But I was lecturing at a conference, same conference I heard about Fortitropin, and this guy came up and said, I have a better creatine. And I'd heard all the things about other forms are just hype and marketing expensive and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, I've heard about these things. He goes, well, I will, but I'd like to be critically open-minded. Anyhow, I go to his plant in Nebraska because he actually manufactures in the US, which is in itself a rarity. And he shows me their solubility studies. And the issue with creatine that they're not telling you is they did a solubility study on a very, very tiny amount and then extrapolated it to being 99% absorbed. Now, we know it couldn't be the case because of this. You know how I said you make about a gram and you need about a gram a day? But you'll hear recommendations that you should take 3 grams, 5 grams, or maybe 10 grams or 20 grams. If you were absorbing all of it, why would you need that much? The math does not math. So it turns out that the stuff you can't absorb, which it's about 15% absorbed when you start increasing it, right? Because it's not as soluble when you increase it. The stuff that is not absorbed, that causes the GI issues and the extracellular fluid. You want a little bit of fluid in the muscle. That's great. In fact, we know that, we have water and carbohydrate are stored as glycogen. More total body water, better if it's in the muscle, not if it's extracellular. So this other form, which this guy discovered when he was trying to help, he had been testing athletes for drug doping, and they're all like, okay, we need something else, but what can we do, right? So this is where this came out of, was they were playing around with different compounds, didn't actually mean to make this thing, and came out with creatine HCl. It was kind of like, when you hear about Post-its and the story of how that came to be, or, whiteout, right? So anyway, it's about 85% soluble. It's way more bioavailable, so you need a fraction. And so you need maybe 750 milligrams to a gram, the amount you actually need, not 5 times the amount you need. So that's the first part. It's like the math is obvious. But then they have done a couple studies. One study they looked at women and creatine monohydrate. Well, it was men and women. What they found is that 79% of people, 81% of women complained of GI issues or bloating when taking creatine monohydrate. I already knew this because when I was selling creatine monohydrate, I got all these returns, all these angry people, and even some of my friends who are doctors who I was like, you have to take it. They're like, I'm not going to take it. I gained weight. I'm like,
yeah,
but it's not weight, they don't care. So they have that. They also did a really great study showing how they used it with menopause, perimenopause. It was either peri or post. But anyway, 750 and 1,500 milligrams, as opposed to the 5, 10, 20 grams you're seeing. They had improvements in their mood, in their cognition, in their memory with low doses. In fact, in that study, 750 actually did better than 1,500, which I don't quite understand. So that's where it all came from. And I look at it and go, well, this is really cool. I can't tell you, I had been attacked, beaten up. Lane Norton went after me. I'm like, granted, he's a big bully anyway. But I was like, what the hell? Like, why are we having creatine wars? Let's just look at why aren't you looking at the studies?
Look at the
science. Why aren't you looking at the studies? They're right here, and they're trying to I'm like, I'm just looking at the thing. I went and toured the plant and got all their information and went through all of it. Like, yes, there's tons of studies on monohydrate. We all know this in the supplement world. It's hard to get a ton of studies. Otherwise, you're going to have to jack the price way up. So you want the price jacked up even higher, and then you'll complain about the price, So if creatine monohydrate works great for someone, cool. but I know for the people that are using mine, they were the ones that were complaining about it. Then I put with this one, I was looking, I go, what would make it better? Well, if you look at what helps with ATP, generation, recycling, taurine, and magnesium. And I found research to show that magnesium and creatine together were great. I know there's products out there that do this, and that creatine and taurine put together were great. And I didn't find any with all three, so I'm like, perfect. So that's what I did is I took HCl, put it together with taurine and magnesium because we all need more of that anyway.
We do.
And honestly, I am obsessed with this product. Like it has helped me time zone adjust from like, we were in the Amazon, then Egypt, then New York, then I'm all over the place. And this has
That's helped.
massively. I saw a
Wow.
study on sleep deprivation. I'm like, well, if it works for sleep deprivation, what would it do?
Yes.
Like, duh, so I take do you know Sacred Cups and Purity Coffee?
No.
So good. So it's really amazing coffee that these coffee obsessors, in fact, I just had them on my podcast, have created. I mean, they're obsessed with coffee, and the husband did it because the wife was sick and he wanted to find the purest form of coffee. Anyway, it's amazing, but they make these sachets. So my kind of jet lag hack is to do Purity Coffee and then Chiatine, and I'm good,
Well, it was funny because a girlfriend of mine a couple months ago was saying that she's just since hitting perimenopause, she's not sleeping very well. And she gets up at like 3 or 4 in the morning. And she said, but then I started taking creatine before bed, which I've heard now that you shouldn't take it before bed.
No,
But
you can.
Yeah.
It won't, yeah, it's very bizarre because you would think that it would give you energy, but it doesn't impact.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you can take it before bed. Yeah.
Well, yeah, she said now she's sleeping through the night again. And I'm like, women need to know this. Like, this is the number one complaint of
But
I
wait,
wake up at 4 a.m.
but wait, there's more. Plus, so there's other research showing that creatine may help with crepey skin and cellulite. Now, I noticed like crepey skin was the first thing I remember. I was 35 and I was doing a down dog with some clients, and I looked and I saw my mom's legs and I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, what's going on there?
Yeah.
No more shirts and yoga. So I was like, crepey skin and cellulite. So I made a crepey skin cellulite creatine sculpt cream. So that's coming out for Mother's Day in May. But I've been
Well,
using it.
it's one of the ways I know I'm not getting enough estrogen is if my skin starts to look crepey. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I need to increase my estradiol. And Amy Horniman taught me that when she got her hysterectomy, she had to lower her estrogen. She's like, I'm getting crepey skin.
It's funny. I only had it on my thighs and it was 35. And now I wonder, it's like, what the hell happened to 35? Because I haven't noticed it, like now looking, do I
No.
have crepey skin? But I also use your stuff like hands and chest and face. I'm like slathering in it. It's so
You
good.
bathe
It's the
yourself in
best.
it.
I love it. Like,
Women will come to me and they'll be like, you said that it wasn't going to raise systemically. And I'm like, yes, if you're just using it on your face. And then they're like, oh, no, I'm putting it here. I'm
yeah.
putting it everywhere. I'm like, yeah, you can't shower in it and expect it's not going to raise your levels. Anyway, okay. Before you go, just some quick fire little things here. Besides your creatine, do you have like other maybe top 2, 3 supplements that are your non-negotiables that you love for midlife women?
I think aminos have been people have totally missed the boat on aminos. So I bought back my company and reformulated everything, and I reformulated them based on the NIH protocol for sarcopenia. But I think this is one that's
agree with that.
easy because so many people are not getting enough protein in, and we eat protein for the amino acids. So if you have a skimpy breakfast, just I did it so you could take 1 scoop to augment or 2 scoops if you're missing a meal. So aminos, I don't go anywhere without them. I also take them to the gym because there's some research showing that if you have more aminos on board, you have less muscle soreness. So I take to the gym my electrolytes, my electro-replenish, my Chiatine, and my aminos in this big-ass jug that I drink the whole thing of. So that's definitely a big one. I think collagen. So the other thing, I have a collagen product where I have Verisol and Fortigel in it, so it helps with skin and bone, and they have patented peptides, but I put C in it as well. But I do that one in my coffee. So my kind of routine is before I'm going to the gym or working out, I have coffee with collagen because I feel like then the collagen's going to I'm going to have more blood flow to my joints than the collagen can get there. I do my yoked bortitropin stuff. And then I also do my amino sheatine and electrolytes. So those are some of the ones that I'm really focused on that I think are not the ones you usually hear as much about.
No. What are your top 3 peptides?
So currently, I've been doing a super low dose. I'd switched to Retta, but I've been using tirzepatide for years, but at a tiny dose for my osteoarthritis. Um, and right now I'm doing BPC 157. I kind of cycle in and off depending because I've got this weird broken foot from when I was 20 that I'm getting fixed. And then TB 500, and right now I'm doing CJC ipamorelin, but I'm about to start a whole bunch of other ones. So
You?
I'm meeting with my peptide pals. Yeah, I've been working on a protocol that I wanted to be on. So I think I'm going to switch my IPA over to tesamorelin and start the epitalin.
Yeah.
And I might do that SS31. So
Yeah, I'd like to try that one.
like I'm just, yeah, we're actually going out to dinner with our peptide pals, and then I'm going to start a new protocol. So the
I
peptides
just
are so exciting. Oh my
They're
God.
so exciting. I just started the epitalin, so I'm like,
Oh,
please come
and so
on.
are you doing like you do it 10 days and then 6 months off or what?
I am doing the every third day or every 3 times a week 10 milligrams each shot for 3 weeks, I think it is, and then I'm going to put Penile on at the end of
Mm,
it.
okay.
Yeah,
Exciting.
because there's
Yeah.
the different
Yeah.
protocols. I was just listening to Heather, what's her name? She's a peptide woman. She was on Dave Asprey's, and she was like, I use epitalin every night. I take little breaks from it, but I take it every night because it helps me sleep so much. And I'm like,
Have you
oh,
tried DSIP?
I have. That was a
Did it work?
weird, uh,
Huh.
it was weird. It was like it worked at certain doses, but made me it's just going a little bit over made me feel like a train wreck the next day. So then I
Wow.
didn't continue because I was like I felt so horrible.
Hmm.
So we'll have to see. But that one's really cheap. So it's an easy one to kind of see how does it work. Epitalin's not cheap, and that's one that you
You
gotta
don't have
be
to use
like,
that much of it, so that's the good news on it.
yeah. I am
Right.
going to do a glycan age test. I did it before. I'm going to do it before and after. So I did one before, and I'm going to see
Yeah.
now post epitalin if my glycan age got even lower.
I mean, I wish we had better ways to really look at things. That's the big question mark because
Because some of the
really,
stuff we can't even feel it, right? It's
I
like we
know.
just got to hope it's doing what it says it's going to do.
Yeah.
So
So,
we'll see. Um, Last question. Do you agree with the what is it? Per pound is a per gram of protein that we should be getting?
um, I don't think we need to really worry about eating too much protein, but I think sometimes that might be too hard for people. So I go zero point 0.7. I think probably it's
Okay.
somewhere 0.7 to 0.75 is like get there. I think it's easier to say 1 gram per pound of target body weight because it's no
It's
math.
just easier to do the
No
math.
math.
Yeah.
And you know what? Here's why I like higher protein is try to be, when you're really trying to lose body fat, the easiest hack is just to eat more protein and eat it first because you're full. You can't overeat when you just eat protein. It's why I'd say eat protein first because I know I've watched too many women eat and they sit down and they have like the salad with the dried fruit and the raspberry vinaigrette and the croutons. They had like a sundae and then they have some bread and then they have a glass of wine and I watch this whole thing and I'm like, you've like got 800 calories of crap and you haven't even touched your your main course.
Steak.
You're,
Yeah.
you haven't touched your steak and now you're full. And you tell me I
Yeah.
can't, I don't know how you eat that much protein. I go, because I eat it first. I just eat the protein first. And if I'm going to have an appetizer, then I have carpaccio for the creatine. So,
Yeah.
or some sashimi or something, which is like these are both creatine powerhouses. But, that's the thing. It's like if you don't see fat carnivores, right? Now, I'm not a subscriber to that diet because I think we need the fiber for our microbiome. I think it's a great elimination diet. But eating protein first, it just makes this easier. So
Do you
that
have a favorite diet?
I think so my feeling on diets is they are tools and that what you need really depends on your goals, your your history, your health history, your genetics, your lifestyle, like all of that to
Yeah.
find what's working best for you now. And what's working best for you now may be different than what you're going to do in 6 months or a year. And maybe you need to do an elimination diet. And maybe you need to do something for your gut. Like I just went to the Amazon, got a big, massive bug bite on my butt.
Oh,
And then I had to have Doxy and Cipro and Flagyl. I'm doing a gut healing thing. So
hence the BPC 157.
like going, so we things that we have to do. And so it's like, what's the right diet for you right now? It's probably not what your manicurist is having or your
Yeah.
best friend or so figure the thing out. But there's some absolutes of like protein. You need to have zero 0.7 to 0.75 grams. Likely, if you're trying to drop body fat, put on muscle, higher. One, I push it up higher than that. I do more like 1.5. I feel better there. I always have. In fact, even someone was doing a DNA test. They were like, you're one of those people that really works well off protein. I go, I always have since I was a little kid. So, but I also feel better when I'm eating a lot of fiber. So figure stuff out and,
Yep.
and, like listen to your body, connect the dots. That's what the
Yeah.
Virgin Diet and Sugar Impact Diet were. They were like, connect the dots between what you're eating and how you feel. Right?
Yeah. We got to quit being so dogmatic about it. It's like,
Yeah, if
no,
you do
that's going to
shit
get you
on
into
on
trouble.
diet, who cares? I mean, that was the whole premise of the Virgin Diet is these healthy foods you're trying to eat every day to be healthy are hurting you.
Yeah.
Like, figure out what works for you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you're obviously doing everything right. You look amazing. I can't believe you're turning 63. Was it 63?
3.
So I hope I can look like you at 63. I'm going to get my facelift
Well, when
maybe
you're
when
ready,
I'm
Tampa,
55.
Tampa, baby,
Because earlier the
it'll be
better.
a fraction of what you would have paid at Karam too. Like
Yeah, I'm going to come to Tampa.
it's
Maybe
like
by then I'll
it's
be living there
it's
down in
like
Florida.
on sale in Tampa.
So discount price facelift. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that you opened up, and I'm sure that you've helped a lot of women that are listening today just to hear that, hey, we go through it too. Even though we're living this every single day, we are not exempt from it. And
Right.
so I appreciate you, JJ. Thank you for everything that you've done.
So welcome.